Hey guys, for sake of reality here with the 26th episode of the RPG tutorial series. In this episode we'll be setting up our offhand slots for shields, and eventually it will allow us to set up other offhand items such as dual wield swords. So without further ado, we will get into that right now. The first thing we are going to do is just gonna close that up. We're gonna go into, notice that my contact folder actually moved down there for some reason. Just gonna reorganize that. We gotta like it like this. Okay, so we want to set the slot on our mesh. So we want to go to our skeletal mesh, character mesh, UE4 mannequin, and I'm actually going to quickly rename this just so it's gonna rename this the main skeleton or master skeleton, just so it's easier for me to find that when I'm retargeting and stuff. Right now it's retargeting animations, but it actually went on my other screen for some reason, so I'm just going to pause this and let this do its thing. Okay, now that that's done, I'm just going to quickly fix up redirectors to be safe, save all, so that's good. Now we can go in and just open up the master skeleton. And in here we want to find our hand L, because we're going to add a shield socket to the other hand, and we're going to add a socket. And this is just going to be off and socket underscore L. And we'll save that. Actually, create a preview mesh. Before that, I'm going to add a shield mesh to the download section. So you can just download that here, but I'm going to create a folder, static meshes. I'm going to right click in here, weapons. Just put these two in the weapons folder. And then I'm going to create a second folder and call it shields. And I have a shield here that you'll be able to download that a friend of mine made for me. I'm allowed to use in this tutorial series freely. And just import that skeletal mesh, or static mesh, sorry. That's fine. And there we go. We have our materials as well. I'll just go to our hair, create a new one, shield materials. And then we'll go into our meshes, static meshes, shields, and grab these two. And our shield materials right here, let's put that in that folder. Just be safe, fix up redirectors, save all. Meshes, static, shields. Okay, so now we have our shield mesh. So now we want to go back to our offhand socket, add a preview, shield, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees this way, 90 degrees this way for now. And then a little bit out like that. And we're just going to move this handle into his hand. Rotate out a little bit more away from the wrist. That should be good enough for now. Now We'll save this, and then we have our sword and shield slots set up. Now we want to open up our combat component. And in here, I'm actually going to change this holdable reference because this one specifically, the offhand, which is mainly, right for now, it'll be your weapon reference. If we add other ones, we can create multiple variables using the same variable type. So like if we set this weapon reference and then we duplicate it and we have a shield reference, that's also the master holdable. So now when we set this weapon reference, this is still a blank variable right here. So we can use, so we set the shield, the weapon reference won't be adjusted to the holdable reference itself won't be adjusted. So basically we want to go into our, first we're going to create a function to determine which one of these are being held, are being set. We're just going to go set current held item for now. And I'm also going to show you how to use local variables, which are pretty useful, especially for scenarios like this. We're going to create an input. And this input's going to be master holdable. And this is going to be a reference to the item being picked up. So basically, the item that's being picked up at the moment gets fed into here. We're going to drag out, right click, and promote to local variable. It's going to be local pickup reference, which is a reference to, which creates a reference to the item, but it doesn't actually set the weapon or shield reference yet. So we can use this variable to determine the item details, because the variable is being set to the item's details that is being picked up, but it's still not set to the weapon or shield. So now that we're getting the item details, we're going to break this, and to determine if we're going to set a weapon or a shield, we're going to use the weapon type. So we want to drag out of this and promote to a local variable because we're going to use it multiple times. And also local variables can only be used within this set current held function, so we can't go to unequipped and search these variables. Well, we can, and you can also recreate multiple instances of them within each function, but they won't interact with each other at all, only within the functions themselves. Local pickup type. So it's setting the type of the weapon that's being picked up, but it still hasn't set the weapon or shield reference yet. So now we want to create a branch. And now that we have this variable created, we can get it. And we're going to check if it equals sword. So if the item type is a sword, if it's not a sword, we want to duplicate this. Let's put it down like this, and if it's false, it's going to move some things around to organize them a little better. So if it's false, we're going to check if it's a shield. And if it's not a shield, we don't have any other types of items at the moment, so we're just going to return. If you wanted to add a check for other types of items like offhand swords and different things, which I will be doing later, we would continue down here. it will need a few other adjustments, obviously, other than the shield setup. Once we do this, we're gonna check if our weapon reference is valid. So this will basically allow us to determine if we're already holding a weapon. And if it is valid, we're just going to return. Check if weapon reference is valid. Means we are already holding a weapon. Now we're just going to return if we are holding weapons, so nothing else will happen. But if we're not holding a weapon, we will set weapon reference, and the reference will be the local pickup reference. So the item that's being picked up, if it's a type of sword and we don't have a sword already equipped, we will set the reference for the sword to the sword being picked up. And from here, we will equip. Turn. Just going to double check this to make sure everything is correct in here. Yeah, no changes are going to need to be made here. It's good. Okay, so now we're setting a weapon and equipping it. Now we want to do the same thing or something similar for the shield. So we're going to get our shield reference and set it. And we're going to set it to the local pickup reference. So if the local pickup reference, the item that's being tried to pick up, the type of it is a shield, then we will equip the shield. And to do that, we will need a new function. And we'll call this one equip. And shield for now, because we might need to do some differences when equipping an offhand. I'm going to drag that up to under equipped. Now that we have that, we are going to open up our equip function, and we can actually use a lot of this because it's going to be very similar. So we can just copy all of this and go to our equip shield function, paste this in. This is going to be attaching it to the hand socket now. So if we're equipping a shield, if this function gets run, basically we're going to be checking the shield reference, and we're going to be getting the holdall mesh of the shield reference, attaching it to the character. We're not going to be attaching it to the hand R socket, it's going to be the hand L socket. And this allows us to get our item details from the shield. Here's another one, which is the same thing but sets the rotation. We need to get the hand socket L rotation. And another one, shield reference, hand socket L location. And that's just these are used, remember, if we need to set different variables in case locations aren't the same on every weapon pack we pull in. And we're going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this shield equipped. And we're going to replace this weapon equipped with shield equipped. actually going to change the name of this function to equip weapon. So that's what it's doing right now. So now that we have our equip shield function, we can go back to our set current held item. We can drag out of here and equip shield. So now if the item that's locally being picked up, and that type is a weapon, it will send through here. If it's not, it will go through and check if it's a shield. And if it's a shield, it will equip the shield and return. And that seems to be it for this one. And now we will do some commenting. Equip shield. Offhand. Equip weapon. Main hand. Set a reference to weapon is equipped from the local pickup. Ref, you'll probably notice I'll end up mixing around a lot of random words like that together. Don't know why I do it. Not sure if any of you guys do it, but I do it all the time. Set reference to the shield, the local pickup ref. And I think I might actually change this pickup reference name to holdable ref. So it's because it's holdable. And I'll put a tooltip on it. Actually, I'll just comment it and put a tooltip on it. So I'm going to comment this. Set of reference to the item picked up for deciding if it should be a weapon ref or a shield ref by checking the type of the item to determine which variable to set. This will allow you to get item details of the item being picked up for setting any of the main variable references used elsewhere in the code, weapon and shield references. It's a bit of a longer one, but I figured that a bit of more explanation would be better. And right here, so the type sword, check if the item being picked up is a type shield. And I think that's all the commenting I'll need to do for now. And this is what I mean right here. Like, you have a bunch of them and you don't pull them out. Like, ugh, it just, I personally think it looks bad. Like, closer it doesn't look too bad, but why do you need this when it's right there? So I'm going to, and the way we can do this is we can hold control and click on each of these boxes, select them all. So now we have them all selected, and we will get rid of those all bubbles all at once, just like that. Compile and save. I'm actually going to, yeah, that looks good like that. It's debating on, nah, I don't need to comment that whole thing. Okay, now that we're setting the held item, depending if it's a sword or a shield, and equipping it, we need to change a few things in our, let's check through a few more things here for a second. Okay, so now we're going to want to open up our character blueprint. And in here we want to go to our input graph, and of course we're going to go to our pickup event. Just going to organize it a little bit better. Bring this down. Put this up here. Bring this back some. And then we're actually going to replace this equip weapon. And we're just going to delete it. And the way this is going to work is we just removed our actual pickup of our item for the moment. We're going to go back into our combat component, go to our event graph. And in here, instead of setting the weapon reference specifically when we set the held item, we just want to drag out our function set current held item. We'll plug this in, and we'll plug this in here. So now we're actually going to want to remove this. We're slowly going to get rid of this and move it to the combat component. So we already have the reference there. We're going to set the reference to the item being picked up. To the held item reference there. And then that will come into here. The held item reference, the pickup item is reference is right here, being fed into the picked up item. And then it's being set as the local held reference. The pickup item is right here now. And then we're getting the details of the pickup item, and that, so now we have the type of the pickup item without setting this and this yet. We're coming in here and checking if it's a sword, and then we're finally setting the weapon reference. And if it's not a sword or shield, we're finally setting the shield reference, which is actually right here because we need to check if this sword is valid. Now that we have that done, we can test, I think, to make sure that the swords still work. Okay, so there's still some issues there. It's running it, but it's not setting the reference, but it looks like it's spawning it, but it's not doing the pickup. And that's most likely because in our combat component, Oh, and our pickup reference. We need to open up our items pickup, master pickup. And in here, I don't think this is being used anymore. I think we removed all instances of this variable. Yep, so we can actually delete the stance, file and save. And we're going to create a new variable and we'll call it item type. Compile. And for item type, or sorry, it's a type, it's an enum. So on an e item type. So now we have this being checked in here in our master pickup. I'm going to go to our sword and just set the type to sword. And our axe, if you have any other things, you just want to set them to sword. And we're going to create a child and call this BP underscore shield underscore pickup. Don't have a holdable yet, so it's going to be a shield. I'm going to go over here. And we're going to create a child of this, and it's going to be BP underscore shield. And I'm just going to change that to a P. Go back to my holdables, BP shield. Holdable mesh, we don't need to set that there. Once we get the item details, it will be set. The row name is just going to be, I'm going to make an offhand default naming, and it's going to be a shield 1 for now. Now we need to create the item in our item details. Data, data tables, item list, plus to add, and offhand underscore shield 1. It's going to be a kite shield. Go to description. It's going to be a type of the type shield. The mesh is going to be shield. And you notice once we set this, we can compile that and the shield mesh will display now. And keep the stance to unequipped for the moment. We're gonna change that after, and we're gonna get the whole BP shield. And we can go to our pickup now and set this to BP shield. And that should be everything other than the sockets, handle socket. Set that to our offhand socket. And I think I had to do some, no I didn't, because I set it default for this shield specifically for the socket. And that should be it for the socket details for now. That's fine right there. Okay, I was just quickly looking into why the sword wasn't equipping, and it's actually because our type is, I personally didn't set the type right here. Sword, sword, shield. So we want to pick up our sword and it will attach. And it is a sword. my slots off like that because I never set up the rotations for my sword specifically, and my tool I was setting up for the axe. So that's why that's like that for me. Okay, that's gonna be it for this video. In the next video, we're going to finish setting up our shield pickup. I'm just going to double test and see what exactly works here. Want to set up a pickup mesh. Don't think this should work quite yet, but in the next video it will. Oh. So we have the sword attaching to the slot, but there's probably going to be some issues with picking up multiple shields and things that we'll be needing to go through. That's going to be it for this episode. If you found this video helpful and want to see more, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new tutorials, video uploads. Any questions, suggestions, or comments, feel free to leave those in the comments section below, or join my Discord server using the link in the description. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.